When a retired soldier opened his door to a homeless woman seeking refuge from a raging storm, he never expected it to be more than a simple act of kindness. But the next morning, a knock at the door brought a lawyer with shocking news, revealing a hidden truth that would shake his world and change his life forever. Let's begin the story. Jason Thompson was a 60-year-old retired soldier who lived with his wife and daughter in their modest home. As a young boy, Jason was captivated by the idea of being a soldier. His room was filled with military collectibles and action figures which he spent hours arranging and playing with, immersing himself in imagined battles and heroic missions. His parents would often hear him shouting orders to invisible troops or orchestrating elaborate rescue missions, his imagination as vast as his determination. But it wasn't just the allure of heroism that drew him to the military. It was the idea of helping people, of standing up for those who couldn't defend themselves. After graduating high school, Jason defied his parents' hopes for college and chose to serve his country instead. His parents had argued with him endlessly about his decision. They wanted stability for their son, a future built on education and respectable work, but Jason's stubbornness matched his passion. The idea of serving his country, of protecting people who couldn't protect themselves, had been ingrained in him since childhood. He enlisted in the military the moment he turned 18, signing the papers before he could talk himself out of it. For years, he dedicated himself to the life of a soldier, fighting battles, protecting others, and putting duty above all else. His first deployment was a shock to the system, the heat, the chaos, the ever-present danger. But what struck Jason most was the human side of war, the frightened civilians caught in the crossfire, the children who had lost their parents, the families desperately trying to rebuild shattered lives. When Jason finally retired, he expected a peaceful life with his wife and daughter, but the transition was anything but smooth. The nightmares started almost immediately, visions of burning villages, the deafening roar of gunfire, and the agonized screams of those he couldn't save. He would wake up drenched in sweat, his chest heaving, his pulse racing as if he were still on the battlefield. At first, Jason tried to hide it from his family, pretending everything was fine, but the mask slipped quickly. His years in service had left him scarred in more ways than one. The physical pain from his injured leg was constant, a dull, throbbing ache that never truly went away. But the real pain was deeper, tangled up in his mind, where no one could see it. Every loud noise made him flinch. Fireworks on the 4th of July sent him diving to the ground, his heart pounding as if his chest was about to split open. The crowded supermarket aisles felt like death traps, his eyes always searching for potential threats that didn't exist. Tensions rose, and at one point his wife Lena nearly left him. Faced with the breaking point, Jason made the difficult decision to seek therapy, a choice that would ultimately turn his life around. Admitting he needed help felt like defeat at first, like waving a white flag in a war he never intended to fight. But as he sat in the therapist's office for the first time, his hands clenched tightly in his lap. Jason realized that maybe surrendering wasn't the same as losing. Maybe it was just the first step toward healing. The sessions weren't easy. Reopening wounds he had tried so hard to bury was like walking barefoot over broken glass. The work was grueling. There were days Jason left the office feeling more shattered than when he walked in. But little by little, he began to reclaim himself. He learned breathing techniques to calm the storms that brewed in his mind. Journaling became a daily ritual, a way of pouring out the poison he couldn't speak aloud, and though the nightmares still clawed at him in the middle of the night, their intensity began to dull. As therapy continued, Jason began to rebuild his relationships. He became a better husband to Lena and a more loving father to his daughter. He embraced a more peaceful and compassionate lifestyle, no longer consumed by the inner battles that had nearly destroyed him. Every day was a small victory, another step toward rebuilding himself from the ashes of his own pain. Beyond that, Jason found purpose in helping others. It started small, fixing a neighbor's leaky faucet, trimming overgrown hedges for the elderly woman next door, repairing a broken bicycle for the kids down the street. Acts of kindness that required little more than his time and effort. But what Jason quickly discovered was that these small gestures had a profound impact, not just on the people he helped, but on himself, that he is gradually rebuilding his sense of belonging. Through these efforts, he not only healed himself, but also created a life defined by kindness and service beyond the battlefield. In the same town where Jason lived, there was a woman named Sophia Evans. Once the proud owner of a well-known beauty salon, Sophia had fallen on hard times and found herself homeless, struggling to survive on the streets she had once known so well. For years, Sophia ran her beauty salon, a vibrant little oasis in the heart of the city where everyone felt welcome. The polished glass doors bore her name in elegant gold lettering, a testament to the hard work she had poured into building her dream. Inside, the scent of lavender and vanilla wafted through the air, and the calming ambiance made the place feel more like a sanctuary than a business. Sophia wasn't just a businesswoman, she was a friend, a confidant, and a healer in her own way. She knew her regulars by name, remembered their birthdays, their favorite styles, and even the little details of their lives. It was her nature to care for people, to listen when they needed to vent about bad days or celebrate life's small victories. But her kindness extended far beyond just pleasant conversations. Sophia had always been a generous woman, with a heart as wide as the sky. Her salon was a haven for those who couldn't afford luxury treatments but still needed a little self-care. She would offer free beauty services to people in need, single mothers trying to regain their confidence before job interviews, teenagers who couldn't afford prom makeovers, elderly clients who just wanted to feel pampered for a day. "Don't worry about paying me back," she'd say with a warm smile whenever someone stammered about being unable to afford her services. "You just focus on being the best version of yourself. That's more than enough." The salon had even hosted charity events. Every few months, Sophia would close the shop for a day and invite volunteers to provide free haircuts, manicures, and massages to the homeless and underprivileged. Food and warm clothing were also handed out during these events, all funded from Sophia's own pocket. Her kindness didn't stop there. She had lent money to friends and family, often more than she could comfortably afford, knowing full well that most of them would never repay her. But to Sophia, money was just a tool meant to make life better for everyone. But when Sophia fell on hard times, the very people she had once supported turned their backs on her. It was as if her years of kindness and generosity had been erased the moment she could no longer provide for others. When her salon was shut down, Sophia tried to reach out to her friends, the ones she had helped through tough times, the ones she thought of as family, but suddenly their numbers were disconnected, their doors conveniently closed, their words of encouragement replaced by cold indifference. "I'm sorry, Sophia, but I just can't afford to help you right now," one old friend said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "I've got my own problems, you know." It was the same woman Sophia had lent thousands of dollars to when her husband left her and the bills piled up faster than she could pay them. Sophia had never asked for the money back, writing it off as a gift because that's what friends did for each other. Or so she thought. She turned to family next, hoping blood would be thicker than water. But even her own relatives, whom she had housed for years when they were down on their luck, refused to let her stay with them. "Sorry, Sophia, but things are really tight right now," her cousin Tina said, not even bothering to look her in the eye. "Plus, we don't really have the space. You know how it is." But Sophia knew Tina's house had more than enough room. She remembered giving Tina a place to stay for nearly a year when she lost her job, refusing to accept rent because she knew her cousin needed time to get back on her feet. But when the tables were turned, Tina's gratitude was nowhere to be found. They blamed her pride for her misfortune, claiming that if she had just asked for help sooner, things wouldn't have turned out this way. Heartbroken and betrayed, Sophia had no choice but to accept the reality of her situation. With no one to rely on, she was forced to live on the streets, sometimes sleeping in the park, other times staying in shelters when space was available. One day, as Sophia wandered through town with her few remaining belongings, a sudden storm rolled in. With nowhere else to go, she sought shelter on the porch of Jason Thompson's house, hoping the rain would stop soon. But instead, the storm intensified, and the fierce wind carried away some of her possessions. Jason and his wife Lena had seen Sophia from their window. From her appearance, Jason could tell she was homeless. As he watched her shivering in the cold rain, he felt an undeniable urge to help. "Hey, I don't think this storm is letting up anytime soon. Why don't you come inside and wait it out?" Jason said as he opened the front door. Sophia looked up in shock. "Are you talking to me?" "Of course," Jason replied. "Please, come in. If you stay out here, you might catch a cold." Without hesitation, Sophia stepped inside. She was already drenched and freezing, desperate for warmth. "Would you like a cup of tea?" Lena asked kindly. "Yes, please," Sophia said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'll be right back," Lena said, disappearing into the kitchen. "Here, take this," Jason said, handing her a large towel and some of Lena's old clothes. "You can change in the bathroom. It's the first door on the right." "Thank you so much," Sophia said as she walked down the hall. Less than 3 minutes later, she returned in dry clothes. "By pure luck, the gown fit her perfectly. Your tea is ready," Lena said in a sing-song voice, placing the steaming cup on the table. "Thank you so much," Sophia said as she took a grateful sip. "Are you hungry? We have plenty of food," Lena offered. "No, I'm fine," Sophia lied. "I ate just a few hours ago." Lena gave her a knowing smile. "All right, but I'll pack you a plate in case you get hungry later." Sophia was taken aback by their kindness. From the pictures on the wall, she realized Jason was a retired soldier. Yet, despite his disciplined past, he wasn't harsh or unkind. Instead, he and his wife treated her with warmth and compassion, offering her shelter when she needed it most. For the rest of the evening, the three of them talked like old friends. It was the first time in years that Sophia felt a sense of belonging. When she finally left that night, she broke down in tears, overwhelmed by the kindness she had waited so long to receive. The next day, Jason and Lena were relaxing at home when an unexpected knock at the door disrupted the quiet. Jason opened the door to find a man in a suit standing before him. "Good afternoon, sir. How can I help you?" Jason asked. "I'm here on behalf of my client, Miss Sophia Evans," the man said. "She wanted you to have this." Jason and Lena exchanged confused glances. "I'm sorry, I think you have the wrong house." "We don't know anyone by that name," Jason replied. "I assure you this is the right address," the man said. "My client claims she was here yesterday during the storm. I believe you had a guest?" Lena hesitated. "The only person who was here was a homeless woman." "That's who I'm talking about," the lawyer confirmed. "You see, my client is a very complicated person. Sometimes she chooses to disguise herself. Anyway, she wanted you to have this." The lawyer handed Jason a brown envelope. "Please sign here," he added. Jason hesitated before opening the envelope. Inside, he found stacks of cash, more money than he had ever seen in his life. It was a gift, an overwhelming sum meant for them. Jason couldn't believe it. The last person he expected to show such generosity was Sophia, the woman they had helped the night before. As it turned out, losing the beauty salon wasn't the end of Sophia's world, just a harsh awakening. The business she had poured her heart into for years had been her pride and joy. A high-end beauty salon in the city that catered to everyone from busy professionals to socialites craving the latest beauty trends. But when a fire broke out due to a faulty electrical system, the damage was extensive. Insurance helped cover part of the losses, but rebuilding was a battle Sophia couldn't win. She was forced to close the salon's doors. But Sophia wasn't entirely defeated. Unknown to most, she had other businesses under her name. A few rental properties, a small fashion line she'd started as a passion project, and a lucrative investment portfolio established years ago by her late father. The trust fund he left her wasn't limitless, but it provided her with enough financial security to keep her afloat. However, the real devastation was the betrayal. The financial problems hadn't just destroyed her salon, it had exposed the truth about the people around her, so-called friends who disappeared as soon as her business crumbled, employees who turned their backs when she needed support the most. People she'd trusted showed their true colors, and it left her bitter and broken. Feeling lost, Sophia decided to test those around her. She kept her other businesses and her trust fund a secret, pretending she was completely broke. She wanted to see who would stand by her side without the glitter of wealth and success to keep them around. And she was met with disappointment, until she found Jason and Lena. With Sophia's unexpected gift, Jason and Lena finally took the long overdue vacation they had always dreamed of. They never saw her again, but they never forgot her. Years later, Jason still thought about Sophia, not because of the money, but because of what she had taught him. That night, a simple act of kindness changed everything. Thought he was simply offering shelter, But some gestures change lives in ways we never expect, because in the end, it's not the storms we endure that define us, but the kindness we show in their midst. A single act of compassion can echo far beyond what we see, reminding us that generosity is never wasted. If this story touched you, tap that like button and subscribe for more. Share one word in the comments that captures how this story made you feel. Until next time, stay kind and keep believing in the power of good.